They were small, fast, unpredictable, and absolutely unstoppable. A team that didn't just win matches, they dominated possession, controlled the tempo, and got inside the opponent's mind. Barcelona in 2011 was the last club to control world football in such a clear, overwhelming way that many ended up hating their style, while millions admired it at the same time. It was the famous Tiki-Taka, a passing game so precise it left opponents dizzy, a system that seemed simple but actually hid a perfectly engineered football machine. With one of the most astonishing versions of Lionel Messi, a once-in-a-lifetime midfield made up of Sergio Busquets, Xavi Hernandez, and Andres Iniesta, and a coach obsessed with tactics, a young Pep Guardiola who was just beginning to write his story. Many will always talk about Flick's Bayern sextuple, Barça, in 2009, even Luis Enrique's modern PSG. But for many, myself included, the most dominant football ever seen on a pitch happened right here. Because it wasn't just about winning, it was about imposing a style of play, an identity, an era. This is how Barça 2011 became the most dominant team in history. To understand how Barcelona in 2011 came to dominate world football, you first have to look at what had happened a year earlier. The 2009-2010 season was very good, but it also left several open wounds. Pep Guardiola's team won La Liga with 99 points, a historic number at the time, once again proving that their style of possession and ball control remained one of the most effective in the world. However, not everything was perfect. In the Copa del Rey, Barcelona was eliminated in the round of 16 by Sevilla, an unexpected result for a team that had won every possible title just a year earlier. But the biggest blow came in Europe. In the Champions League, Barca reached the semi-finals where they faced an opponent that had perfectly studied how to stop their style, Jose Mourinho's Inter Milan. In the first leg in Italy, Barcelona lost 3-1, and although they completely dominated the second leg at Camp Nou, the aggregate score ended 3-2 in favor of Inter. Guardiola's team was eliminated just one step away from the final. That Inter side would go on to win the Champions League, but it had also proven something important. Barcelona was incredible, yes, but it wasn't invincible. And interestingly, the man who had managed to stop them would soon appear in the least expected place. In the summer of 2010, Jose Mourinho was hired by Real Madrid with a clear mission to find the formula to defeat Barcelona. The rivalry was ready to begin. That same summer also brought important changes inside the Barcelona locker room. Some key figures from the winning cycle began to leave the team. Thierry Henry and Rafa Marquez moved to the MLS, closing an important chapter in Guardiola's project. Another significant departure was Yaya Touré. The Ivorian midfielder had been an important piece in previous seasons, but with Sergio Busquets established as the starting defensive midfielder, his role began to diminish. He would eventually move to Manchester City. The most high-profile case was Zlatan Ibrahimovic. The Swedish striker had arrived just a year earlier as one of the biggest stars in European football, but his relationship with Guardiola never truly worked out. His style didn't fully fit the team's system, and he would end up leaving for AC Milan. With several important departures, Barcelona chose to reinforce the squad intelligently. El Guardian, David Villa arrived, a World Cup champion with Spain and one of the most complete strikers at the time. Javier Mascherano also joined, a player with tremendous character who would become key in the team's defense. But beyond the signings, the true foundation of the project remained the same: La Masia. Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, Piqué, Pedro, and Messi formed the core of a team that understood football in the same way. And with that group, Pep Guardiola was ready to begin a new season. A season that would ultimately become legendary. The 2010-2011 season kicked off even before many starters had returned from their vacations after the World Cup in South Africa. Barcelona's first challenge was the Spanish Super Cup against Sevilla, and the start wasn't easy. In the first leg, With several backups on the field and heavy rotation, Guardiola's side lost 3-1, leaving the feeling that the team was still far from its best version. But in the second leg, at Camp Nou, the player who was beginning to define an era stepped up. Lionel Messi took control of the match, scored a spectacular hat-trick, and led the comeback to give Barcelona their first title of the season. It was only August, but the message was clear. Even when things got complicated, this team had the tools to solve them. Shortly after, La Liga began with a solid start that included a convincing win over Racing Santander. However, the season also brought one of those inexplicable surprises that always show up in football. In the second matchday, Hercules defeated Barcelona at Camp Nou, something almost no one saw coming. That loss created momentary doubts, but as the weeks went by, it became clear what it really was. Just a minor stumble on the path of a team that was still warming up. After that uneven start, Barcelona began to find its rhythm. Guardiola's system started working again like a perfectly synchronized machine, built on possession, pressing after losing the ball, and a circulation of play that few teams in the world could match. The team began to string together important wins. Valencia, Sevilla, Villarreal, and other strong opponents started to fall against a Barcelona side that seemed to play better each week. In some matches, the dominance was so overwhelming that opponents barely managed to touch the ball for long stretches. In attack, Messi was enjoying one of the best moments of his career, constantly linking up with Pedro and David Villa, two forwards who brought movement, pressure, and goals. But the team's true magic was born in midfield. Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta controlled the tempo of matches with astonishing ease, moving the ball from side to side until they found the perfect space. As the match days passed, Barcelona kept piling up wins, blowouts, and memorable performances. Little by little, that team began to show the version that would make it one of the most dominant ever seen on a football pitch. And the best was still yet to come. On the 29th of November 2010, one of the most anticipated matches in world football took place. At Camp Nou, Pep Guardiola's Barcelona faced Jose Mourinho's Real Madrid, two massive projects representing completely opposite styles. On one side was Barca's Tiki-Taka, endless possession and collective play. On the other, Mourinho's Madrid, a team that was intense, physical and deadly on the counter-attack, built around Cristiano Ronaldo and several new stars like Mesut Ozil and Angel Di Maria. The anticipation was enormous. But what happened that night exceeded every expectation. From the very first minute, Barcelona imposed its rhythm. The ball moved at an impossible speed to follow. Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets dominated the midfield. Messi tore through the Madrid defense with every dribble, every moment of brilliance, and Madrid could barely recover the ball for more than a few seconds. The first goal came after a brilliant team play finished by Xavi Hernandez. From that point on, the match turned into an exhibition. Pedro scored the second, David Villa added two more, and near the end, Jeffren sealed the route. The final score was 5-0. But beyond the result, what truly stayed etched in memory was the way Barcelona dominated the match. It was a display of total footballer night when the entire world understood that this team was playing something different. That blowout wasn't just a victory, it was a statement. Barcelona didn't just want to win, they wanted to dominate an era. At the beginning of 2011, a moment arrived that perfectly summed up what Barcelona was experiencing. At the FIFA Ballon d'Or Gala, the club achieved something no other team had ever done before. The three finalists for the award were all Barcelona players: Lionel Messi, Andres Iniesta, and Xavi Hernandez. Three footballers developed at La Masia, three players who better than anyone represented the style Pep Guardiola had built at Camp Nou. The debate was intense. Many believed Iniesta deserved to win the award for his historic goal in the World Cup final in South Africa. Others defended the importance of Xavi as the brain of the team. But in the end, the trophy went to Lionel Messi, who lifted his second consecutive Ballon d'Or. The image of the three of them together on the podium became a historic photograph. It didn't just represent the best players in the world at that moment, it also symbolized the success of a project built from the academy, from a footballing philosophy that had turned Barcelona into the most admired team on the planet. Meanwhile, on the field, the team kept winning matches and maintaining an incredibly high competitive level both in the league and in Europe. And the most impressive part was that they weren't satisfied, they kept growing, kept improving, until they reached a level that bordered on the impossible. In February, Barcelona broke a monumental record by defeating Atletico 3-0 with another Messi hat-trick, but the result wasn't the headline. What was historic was that they reached 16 consecutive La Liga wins, the longest streak ever seen. Not Butragueño's Madrid, not Cruyff's Barça, not the eras of Di Stefano and Puskas had achieved anything like it. 16 straight match days, winning, dominating, overwhelming. And since February only marked the beginning of the decisive stages, the team entered the knockout rounds with an authority that was intimidating. In the Copa del Rey, they advanced through the round of 16, quarterfinals and semi-finals, as if they were walking on a field tilted in their favor. The semi-final, an 8-0 aggregate against Almeria. 8-0, a staggering result that secured the first major final of the season. The Copa del Rey was within reach, but what truly mattered wasn't happening in Spain. At the domestic level, they had nothing left to prove. The real challenge was waiting in Europe. In the Champions League, Barcelona advanced with authority from the group stage. They finished top of their group, showing the same dominant style that had already become their trademark: possession, high pressing, and an increasingly decisive Messi. The first major obstacle came in the round of 16 against Arsène Wenger's Arsenal. In the first leg in London, Barcelona took the lead with a beautiful goal from El Guaje Villa, but ended up losing 2-1 with goals from Robin van Persie and Arshavin, leaving the tie wide open. The second leg at Camp Nou was completely different. With total control of the ball and a brilliant Messi scoring a stunning goal from a pass by Andrés Iniesta, Barça came back in the tie and advanced to the quarter-finals. There they faced Shakhtar Donetsk, a dangerous team that had been having a great European campaign, but Barcelona settled the tie in the first leg with authority, winning 5-1 at Camp Nou, and then with a 1-0 win in Ukraine, once again decided by Messi, showing their collective superiority and advancing to the semi-finals of the tournament. Meanwhile, in Spain, the team kept piling up victories and maintaining control of the league. They already had an 8-point lead over Jose Mourinho's Real Madrid, an absolute madness dominant from start to finish with impressive blowouts, an unstoppable Messi, David Villa in beast mode, Pedro Rodriguez scoring as well, and a midfield that never broke down. However, in the middle of that great sporting moment, news arrived that emotionally shook the locker room. Eric Abidal, one of the team's starting defenders, was diagnosed with a liver tumor and had to undergo emergency surgery. The first-team squad showed their support for the Frenchman over several match days. Football temporarily took a back seat. But that story would still have an ending no one would ever forget. And just as Barcelona was preparing for the Champions League semi-finals, fate had something more in store. A new clash against Mourinho's Real Madrid. In April 2011, world football experienced something that had never been seen before. In less than 3 weeks, Barcelona and Real Madrid would face each other 4 times. 4 consecutive clásicos that would define the entire season. La Liga, the Copa del Rey final, and the Champions League semi-finals. It was Guardiola versus Mourinho. Messi versus Cristiano Ronaldo. Tiki-Taka versus Madrid's direct, physical football. The first chapter of this battle was played on April 16 at the Santiago Bernabéu in La Liga. The match was tense, physical, and full of fouls. Barcelona dominated possession as always, while Madrid looked to strike on the counter-attack. Messi opened the scoring from the penalty spot after a controversial play involving David Villa that resulted in a red card for defender Raúl Albiol. But shortly after, Cristiano Ronaldo equalized, also from the penalty spot. The match ended 1-1, a result that kept Barcelona ahead in the title race. But that game was only the beginning. 4 days later came the second round, the Copa del Rey final at Mestalla. That night, Real Madrid's approach was completely different. Mourinho went with an intense team, pressing every ball and constantly looking for Cristiano Ronaldo. Barcelona controlled possession for most of the match, but repeatedly ran into a very solid Madrid defense and a brilliant Iker Casillas in goal. The match ended scoreless after 90 minutes. Everything would be decided in extra time. And then Cristiano appeared. Minute 103, a cross from the left by Di Maria, a perfect leap by the Portuguese forward, and an unstoppable header into the back of the net. Real Madrid took the victory 1-0 with that goal from their number 7. They lifted the Copa del Rey, and Mourinho secured his first major win over Guardiola's team, closing out an intense and tension-filled final. For the first time in a long while, Barcelona looked vulnerable. But the real battle was still to come. Because the two giants of Spanish football would meet again, this time on the biggest stage of all, the Champions League semi-finals. The first leg was once again played at the Santiago Bernabeu, and the atmosphere was explosive. The rivalry between Mourinho and Guardiola had reached its peak, with heated statements, accusations about referees, and massive media pressure. The match was tense, physical, and full of controversy, until a moment in the second half changed everything. Portuguese defender Pepe was sent off after a hard challenge on Dani Alves, leaving Madrid with 10 men. Mourinho erupted on the sidelines and was also sent off for protesting. The match completely shifted in Barcelona's favour. And then Lionel Messi appeared. First, he made it 1-0 after a great assist from Ibrahim Afellay, getting ahead inside the box and finishing past Casillas. But what happened a few minutes later would be forever etched in football history. Messi picked up the ball near midfield, accelerated, left Las Diarra behind, evaded Sergio Ramos, beat Marcelo, and after an impossible run, calmly finished past Casillas. A legendary goal, one of the most iconic of his career, scored in the stadium of his greatest rival and in a Champions League semi-final. Barcelona won 2-0 at the Bernabeu and all but sealed the tie.
Guardiola è un entrenador fantástico de fútbol, pero ha ganado una Champions que a mí me daría vergüenza de ganarla, porque la ganó con el escándalo de Stamford Bridge. Y si este año gana la segunda, gana con el escándalo del Bernabéu.
In the second leg, at Camp Nou, Guardiola's team controlled the match and secured their place in the Champions League final. They had survived the war of the Clásicos. And now, with the entire world watching, Barcelona was just one step away from conquering Europe once again. After overcoming Real Madrid in those intense Champions League semi-finals, Barcelona entered the final stretch of the season with a clear feeling this team was playing almost perfect football. Yes, they had lost the Copa del Rey final to Madrid, along with the chance to repeat another sextuple. But at the same time, the way they dominated the Clásicos throughout the season, that historic 5-0 at Camp Nou, and the manner in which they eliminated their eternal rival in the Champions League left an even stronger impression. This Barcelona side seemed even more complete than the 2009 team. Messi was going through an even more dominant version of himself. Pedro had become a key piece in attack, and David Villa brought experience and goals. In midfield, Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta controlled matches with astonishing ease, while in defense, Puyol's leadership, Dani Alves' energy, Piqué's personality, and Victor Valde's reliability kept the team balanced. And on top of all that, there was a story that brought the locker room even closer together. The recovery of Eric Abidal, who had managed to return after his surgery. Meanwhile, Barcelona also secured the domestic title. With several match days to spare, Guardiola's team was crowned La Liga champion, winning their third consecutive league title under the Catalan coach. Messi shined as the team's main star, Valdés claimed the award for best goalkeeper in the tournament, and Guardiola once again confirmed that his project continued to dominate Spanish football. After months of competition, from August to May, the journey was almost complete. only one match remained. One final trip. The destination, Wembley. On the 28th of May 2011, Barcelona arrived at the Cathedral of Football to play the Champions League final against Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United, a team seeking revenge after losing to the Catalans in the 2009 final. During the opening minutes, the match was evenly contested, with both teams trying to impose their rhythm. But little by little, Barcelona began to do what they did best: take control of the ball. The first blow came in the 27th minute, when a team play ended with Pedro Rodriguez finishing inside the box to open the scoring. Manchester United responded quickly, and Wayne Rooney equalised in the 34th minute, bringing the excitement back into the match. But in the second half, the player who would make the difference appeared. In the 54th minute, Lionel Messi received the ball outside the box and fired a powerful shot that beat Van der Sar, restoring Barcelona's lead. From that moment on, Barca's dominance was absolute. And the final blow came in the 69th minute, when David Villa received the ball at the edge of the box and curled a perfect shot into the top corner. Barcelona 3, Manchester United 1. Guardiola's team lifted their fourth Champions League title, delivering one of the most dominant performances ever seen in a European final. That night, even Sir Alex Ferguson would admit it. That Barcelona side was the best team he had ever faced. That Barcelona didn't just win titles, it changed the way football could be played. With possession, intelligence, high pressing, and collective talent, Guardiola built a team that dominated Europe, defeated its historic rivals, and delivered matches that are still remembered today as works of art. It was a team that didn't just play better than the rest, it played something different, something that forced the entire world to rethink what it truly meant to control a match. That's why when people talk about the greatest team in history, one name always comes back: Barcelona 2011, the team that turned football into a living masterpiece. If this era also shaped your life, leave a like, subscribe to Barca Cracks, and turn on notifications, because here we keep telling the stories of the teams that made football something eternal. See you in the next one, champ.